So, first of all, I will show you a few things about the database. What we managed is to calculate the Austrian energy balance with a very sophisticated model down to the single building area. This is the first precondition to do that. And so we can calculate bottom up the energy balance as of a municipality, if you want. But by distributing the energy balance of Austria to the municipalities and to the built-up areas. This is important because when you calculate and add the energy balances of all municipalities, you will still get the Austrian energy balance. That's the first thing. It's something that is not guaranteed by bottom-up approaches. We have energy balances here. You see the share of, in a certain municipality, it's a rural municipality, of living, agriculture, industry, so very little industry share, service sector, and mobility. Then we would have another municipality with a high share of industry, of course. So you see that the municipalities, this really changes, the spatial patterns change the energy balance, and here we have Schladming, you might know that from skiing. There are always also downhill downhill races are in this area, and that means that although there is industry, the services, the tourism sector, and so on, have a high share in the overall energy balance of the municipality. We can also show the different fossil and renewable energy sources. In Austria, we have about 34% energy sources in the overall system, and this changes considerably between the municipalities, for instance, and also by purpose, from heating, cooling, process energy, mobility, and so on. We could even show different temperature levels, which is nice for the technical planners, but not for today. And of course, you can also make an energy balance for a whole province, showing the hotspots of the energy demand in the province, which is very nice. The question is, what do you do with that? And here it's very clear, the hotspots are the industrial municipalities, and a bit also the tourism oriented municipalities. What can you do with that? Of course, you can draft tailor-made policies, energy policies, but you can also work on that. There's a 250-meter raster in the GIS system. Work on that on the municipal level. This is a rural municipality again, and what you see here are the rasters with an energy supply, with an energy demand, which means there is a household, there is a farm or whatever in this cell. That's the first thing. Then we calculate an energy balance. It's the overall energy balance. We see this is the main village in the municipality with the highest energy share. We can design priority areas for district heat, and this is very important, as I will show later, in order to design the energy transition. In this case, we also know that the district area that we have identified is more or less covering a supply area of an existing biomass-based district heating system. So the question is, what is the value behind that when there is already a district heating system there? And there are two values, one that we expected, the second one we didn't expect. The expected one is, you have these blue areas here. These are the new development zones according to the spatial development strategy of the municipality. And you see there are some inside this area and some are outside. So if you want to make priorities for the settlement, for the development of new settlements, then that gets rather clear. That was the intended part. The unintended part was that the small company who runs the district heating system said, wonderful that you showed us this map, because now it's scientifically proven that I cannot connect each of these people outside the supply area. And this is not because I'm a bad person, it's because it's not economically feasible. So that's was also very nice. So I said something about mobility. What we have in Austria, we have a data set about the stops of public transport, and they are also classified in different classes depending on the amount of connections that you have and also the kind of transport means that you have. And what we did, we combined it with a model to see how big the intensity of use of the areas around these stops is. And in this way we also define areas for climate-friendly and energy-efficient transport, which means that are areas that are connected to a transport grid and that are more walkable and more bikeable than other areas. And the interesting thing is, when you overlay that, and you overlay that with the potential settlement areas of the future, you can really see where it would be feasible and nice to support the energy transition and where not. And outside, it's not. Sometimes, also in sustainability, you have to draw a line and say, inside the line it's good and outside the line it's not good. And I think it's also very important to empower people to draw these lines. And of course, if you would think about what do you do with these lines, you would have a lot of ideas, or I would have a lot of ideas how to do that. For instance, you could connect it with policies like subsidy systems. Now what is very important as well is the question of coupling of infrastructure systems. And this is something we have already heard in your presentation in the morning, and it's something that we really need to make the energy transition, is to combine infrastructures, technologies, services, electricity, heat, cold, mobility, also to flexibilize the electricity demand over time. This is very important. Of course, we also have to integrate energy storage, but this is something that is not developed to market prices so far. So the first thing to do is to start with combined heat and power, to do something about power to heat, to cold, power to gas, to chemicals, and so on. This is actually from the Austrian energy strategy. It's rather new, was just adopted a few days ago, or a few weeks ago. And this is something of one idea of how we are doing that and also supporting that with spatial analysis. This is the use of wastewater energy. So you can, in the effluent of the wastewater treatment plant, you can extract energy via heat pumps, and then you could supply district heating systems, which has a clear spatial precondition. You would have to have users besides the wastewater treatment plants. It's very plain, very simple. And so what we did, we made an analysis of wastewater treatment plants in Austria, where they are located, and of course also which thermal loads you could expect. And we found out that actually this type, wastewater treatment plants within settlement structures, are 1/3 of all the wastewater treatment plants. And in this way we could combine, for instance, this power to heat, power to gas, power to heat and power to cold stuff with an environmentally friendly resource. It's environmental energy in certain spatial contexts and with grid-bound energy systems. So this is also very important. And when you think about this, rural places, you could also combine it with the food system. If you have greenhouse gas production from a heated with wastewater energy. At the moment, the ecological balance of greenhouse gas emission, greenhouse production of fruits and vegetables is not very favorable in Austria, because most of the glass houses are heated with natural gas. And if you have a different energy source, this would be very nice. The next step is to include spatio-temporal modeling, where we could not only search for spatial structures, but also to see at which times, in which space over a year, you could more or less make energy available, both electricity and thermal energy, and which potentials of coupling these energies would be possible. So, let me conclude that on the one hand, the challenges of the energy transition needs a spatial approach. Spatial analysis can really contribute to the design of renewable and sustainable energy systems, also resilient energy systems. And we have new development goals. And what I want to conclude with, even if you don't believe in climate action and the energy transition, you would still fulfill a lot more sustainable development goals by the approach of what is an energy efficient spatial structure. It's also a spatial structure where people walk and bike more. It's a more healthy structure. And we have more potentials to have efficient infrastructure systems and also to have more sustainable communities, also when you think about the organization of how you could organize renewable energy supplies more as a bottom-up civil society issue than the issue of large-scale companies. So, thanks a lot.